Once upon a time, in a bustling Igbo village, there lived a beautiful girl named Chinua who resided with her handsome father, Ugo. Chinua's mother had passed away shortly after giving birth to her, leaving Ugo with the tremendous responsibility of raising his daughter alone for more than 18 years. Ugo, a respected church deacon, was devoted to ensuring that Chinua had the best of everything in life. He took pride in providing her with love, education, and guidance, spending countless hours nurturing a bond that seemed unbreakable. Chinua adored her father. She could hardly imagine a day without seeing or talking to him. As the years went by, Chinua excelled in her studies, and the time eventually came for her to gain admission into the university. The campus was a 2-hour drive away, and the thought of being separated from her father was heart-wrenching. Sensing her distress, Ugo encouraged her, reminding her how important education was for her future. He promised to visit often, instilling hope in Chinua's heart. With a bittersweet sense of joy, she packed her bags, excited to begin a new chapter in her life while clinging to the reassurance of her father's love. During her time at university, Chinua made numerous friends who enriched her experience, and she soon found herself immersed in lectures, social gatherings, and study groups. However, after several months, Chinua returned home, anxious to see her father. As she walked into their spacious house, she was met by a shocking revelation that would change everything. A strange woman stood in the living room, cheerfully introducing herself as Eudora, Ugo's girlfriend. Chinua was taken aback, her heart sinking at the realization that her father had moved on without her. Ugo approached her with a broad smile, his eyes shining with delight as he proudly introduced Eudora to her. Chinua glanced at her father's face, brimming with happiness, and felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal. She had always thought of her relationship with him as sacred, an unblemished bond that couldn't be severed by just anyone. Conflicted, Chinua managed to force a smile, but inside, a storm of anger and resentment brewed. Eudora attempted to engage Chinua in friendly conversation, but it felt unnatural. As they sat together watching television, Chinua's mind raced with thoughts of how to reclaim the affection she felt was slipping away from her. In the days that followed, Chinua kept a close eye on Eudora, pretending to accept her presence while secretly plotting her departure. One morning, she joined Eudora in the kitchen, feigning a desire to help prepare breakfast for Ugo. As they chatted, Chinua saw her opportunity to sow discontent. She asked Eudora what made her choose to be with Ugo, and Eudora blushed, recounting glowing reasons filled with affection. Feeling her anger rise, Chinua pretended to remember something important and quickly excused herself from the kitchen, knowing that seeds of discord were taking root in her mind. Later that day, Ugo called Eudora into his study, where Chinua overheard their conversation. Ugo held some items in his hands, accusing Eudora of stealing from him. Chinua watched in delight as Eudora stood confused, her voice trembling as she denied the allegations. Just when Chinua thought her plan was flawless, Ugo, overcome with anger, kicked Eudora out of the house, forbidding her from returning. Chinua felt euphoric. Eudora was out of their lives, and she could once again enjoy her father's undivided attention. Nevertheless, she felt a flicker of doubt. Was she becoming too consumed by jealousy? Would her happiness remain stable? Months passed, and Ugo's loneliness began to creep back into his life. Seeking companionship, he met a gentle woman named Neoma, whose kindness and grace further captivated Ugo. They shared deep conversations and laughter, and before long, Ugo introduced Neoma to Chinua. Chinua greeted her warmly, but in her heart, she was already planning her next move. As Neoma spent more time at their home, Chinua acted as though she welcomed her, cooking delicious meals and engaging in friendly talks. However, her mind was racing with jealousy, and soon, she seized an opportunity to strike again. One evening, she snuck into Neoma's room, rummaging through her belongings until she stumbled upon a health card. It revealed that Neoma suffered from asthma, a condition that Chinua knew her father despised. Motivated by a desperate need to keep her father's love for herself, Chinua devised an intricate plan. She soaked a pair of Neoma's underwear in the foul-smelling water of the septic tank, carefully rinsed them, and left them in Ugo's bathroom, anticipating that her father would discover them and associate Neoma with filth. The following morning, while Ugo prepared to take a shower, he was immediately hit by the unbearable scent emanating from the bathroom. Shocked and furious, he confronted Neoma, accusing her of being filthy. Even though Neoma protested her innocence, pleading that she had no idea what he was talking about, Hugo's mind was clouded by disgust. Chinua rushed to the scene, her heart pounding. "Father, what's wrong?" she feigned, holding her nose and acting as though she had just discovered the source of the stench. Hugo recounted the entire incident, and Chinua stood by, feigning shock. Neoma, unable to comprehend the situation, was ordered to leave, her eyes wide with betrayal and confusion. Chinua felt an undeniable rush of joy, relishing the success of her plan. However, she did not realize the darkness that was beginning to envelop her heart. As days turned into weeks, Hugo's loneliness persisted, and he eventually met a stunning woman named Ijeoma. Ijeoma had a vibrant personality, and from the moment she entered their lives, Hugo was enraptured. Chinua vowed she would not let this happen again. She befriended Ijeoma, studying her every move and waiting for the perfect moment to execute her devious plan. Chinua's jealousy reached a boiling point when she overheard Hugo praising Ijeoma's beauty and intelligence. Determined to remove Ijeoma from their lives, Chinua concocted a sinister plan. She snuck into Ijeoma's room once more, this time with a calabash. She filled it with peculiar items and placed a photo of her father inside, artfully tying it with a red cloth to suggest witchcraft. Knowing that Hugo had a deep-seated fear of witchcraft from traumatic experiences in his past, Chinua anxiously hid the calabash underneath Hugo's table, waiting for the inevitable chaos that would follow the discovery of her evidence. But as fate would have it, what was meant to bring her victory turned against her. Hugo found the calabash and, horrified, interpreted it as a sign of betrayal, believing that Ijeoma had cast a spell over him. Angered beyond reason, he confronted Ijeoma, running hot and cold in disbelief. Chinua breathed a sigh of relief, delighting in her father's betrayal of Ijeoma, but soon, the tables would turn once more. One fateful night, Chinua overheard Hugo arguing with Ijeoma in the living room, her father's voice mixing with the chaos of despair. Suddenly, she noticed something peculiar. Hugo had discovered a photo of Chinua at a party, dancing the night away with strangers and holding a drink. Feeling shame wash over her, Chinua's heart sank. Hugo's anger turned towards her. "Is this what you've been doing while I've been trying to find happiness?" he cried, all his dreams dashed before him. Chinua stood in shock, her plan unraveling as it forced her to confront her own destructive actions. In the weeks that followed, while Ijeoma's heart remained heavy with betrayal, Hugo became a recluse, distancing himself from both women. A longing for companionship gripped him once more, and he found solace in the company of Kate, a compassionate woman with a warm heart. As Hugo and Kate's relationship blossomed, Chinua grew increasingly hostile, consumed by wicked jealousy. She went so far as to sabotage their dinners, sneaking excess salt into Kate's cooking, intent on making a fool of her father. However, when Hugo praised Kate's culinary skills instead, Chinua was at a loss. Her plans continued to backfire. Desperate for control, Chinua hatched a final scheme to diminish Kate's reputation in Hugo's eyes. She discovered Kate's asthma condition and thought of a devious plan to expose her. Chinua hurriedly lit a candle and left it burning in Hugo's bedroom, confident that the smoke would trigger an asthma attack, revealing Kate's vulnerability. Then, she decided to leave the house, believing that this would mark the permanent end of Kate's presence in their lives. What Chinua hadn't anticipated was the fire that ensued. When Hugo rushed to the bedroom, he was met by flames that engulfed the room, the smoke billowing into thick clouds. He found Kate unconscious on the floor and, with no thought for his own safety, rescued her despite being scorched in the process. At the hospital, Chinua stood in shock at the sight of her father, his face and body wrapped in bandages, guilt and shame washing over her. She realized that her schemes had nearly cost her father's life, the very life she treasured most. It wasn't just Hugo who had been put in danger, Kate had also suffered during the ordeal, and as she lay unconscious, Chinua felt a wave of horror overcoming her. As the doctors fought to save Hugo, Chinua's heart raced. What had she done? The plan she had meticulously crafted had backfired spectacularly. Slowly, Kate regained consciousness, and despite her own struggles, she smiled weakly at Chinua. "Why are you still here?" Kate asked softly, her voice gentle despite the pain. Chinua looked away in shame, unable to meet her gaze. Hugo stirred from his sleep, opening his eyes and seeing Chinio at the edge of the hospital bed. "Why did you do this to us?" he asked, his voice pained and weary. Chinio collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded for forgiveness. "Father, I never meant for it to go this far. I just wanted things to go back to the way they were, just you and me," she cried. Hugo closed his eyes, and in that moment, Chinio could feel the unbearable weight of betrayal between them. "You let your jealousy blind you," Hugo said, his voice shaking. "You could have lost me today. Was your hatred for Kate so great that you'd risk everything?" Chinio sobbed uncontrollably, the reality of her actions crashing down on her. She looked at Kate, who was finally awake but still recovering from the trauma. Perhaps it wasn't too late to change. In the days that followed, Chinio took responsibility. She broke the silence and revealed everything to Hugo: how she had sabotaged previous relationships, how she planted evidence against innocent women, and how her desperate need for love drove her to the brink of madness. Silence enveloped the hospital room as Hugo listened, his heart heavy with disappointment and sorrow. "You've betrayed me in ways I never thought possible," he finally said, his voice trembling. "But it's those you've harmed that truly matter. I expect more from you, my daughter." Chinio nodded, the weight of the truth bearing down on her. It was time to seek forgiveness from those she hurt, the women who had only desired her father's love and who didn't deserve her vindictiveness. In the ensuing weeks, Chinio actively sought redemption. She reached out to Edeora, Neoma, and Kate, admitting her wrongdoings and pleading for their forgiveness. Feeling the sting of guilt, she attended therapy and focused on her path to becoming a better version of herself. Through therapy, Chinio learned that love could not be hoarded or controlled. It thrived on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. The scars from the incident served as a reminder of the cost of her actions, yet they also marked the start of her journey to healing. Over time, Chinio rebuilt her relationship with Hugo, acknowledging that love was about sharing, not exclusion. In the end, she understood that jealousy and selfishness could destroy not only others but, ultimately, herself. With renewed clarity, Chinio began to embrace a brighter future, determined to grow and show love in healthy ways. She learned that it was never too late to atone for one's mistakes and start afresh in the beauty of love and connection. The lesson to be learned from Chinio's tale is that love does not come through destruction but through understanding and acceptance. Embracing the journey of healing takes courage, compassion, and the willingness to change. Love flourishes when nurtured with trust, and it thrives in an environment free of jealousy and manipulation, a powerful lesson that Chinio would carry with her for the rest of her life.